You have put the bung back in the bottom, haven't you?
Is the floor wet?
So we do have quite a lot of electrical issues with this car, and I've started to pull these relays out of the fuse box just here. There's quite a lot of these, there's 17 in total, some different part numbers. So I've just popped the cap off one of them, and I'll take another one off for you now. And these are quite badly corroded inside, so we'll be looking at replacing all of these, and hopefully that is the reason for some of our electrical issues with the lights not working and stuff. Could even be something to do with the running issue as well. Not entirely sure on that, but it ain't going to do it any good, that's for sure. We pop that out there now. You can see the state that thing's in. For the camera to focus. They're really, really corroded, all of these. So we'll be changing every single one of those. I think these part numbers have actually superseded now, so we will be looking to cross-reference these and find out the equivalent part number to get these replaced. Right, so that is the new fuel in. We've drained the old stuff out. To be fair, the old stuff didn't look too bad, but we took it out anyway because it is a few years old. We've done a little bit of messing about with these relays. We swapped over the fuel pump relay for another one. Fuel pump relay is actually that middle one there. We took the lid off that and it was absolutely corroded inside, and a lot of these relays are pretty bad, as I was saying earlier, so we are going to replace all of those. They come around between £12 and £15 each, and there is 17 of those, so it is going to be a little bit costly, but I think in the long run it is worth changing them, because if a couple of that I've took out so far are all corroded inside, you can guarantee the rest of them are going to be the same, and it's just going to cause issues in the future. So for what it is, we're going to change all those relays. So we're just going to go for a bit of a start up now. We've done those relays and it wasn't running very well at all. It wouldn't tick over. It starts up, you give it a bit of a rev and it'd just sort of start to bog out, and eventually it'd just peter out and it wouldn't idle. So let's see if this has made any difference whatsoever with having this relays and the fuel system. Ticking over. Is idling a little bit fast, but this is going to need a full setup. It's going to want all the idle screws and everything adjusted. So check the oil pressure. We do have good oil pressure. Temperature still down at the minute, so we'll let this run for a little bit. We'll get this temperature up. We'll keep monitoring this oil pressure, make sure that doesn't start to fizzle out, and then we'll give it a few blips and see if it revs up. Because previously it wouldn't even rev. You just press the throttle and they just start dying out, so don't want to rev it while it's cold. As I say, we'll let this warm up back in 5 minutes and we'll give it a rev. Alright guys, so we've got the temperature to a reasonable temp now. Oil pressure's stayed pretty good. Let's give it a few blips, see if it revs up. It wasn't earlier on, so see if that fuel pump and some fresh fuel has made a difference. Certainly revving up. I wouldn't say it was as snappy as it's meant to be. It's definitely idling too fast, and it feels like it's holding on to the revs a little bit as well, so we are getting somewhere, but there's still a hell of a lot needs doing. But while we're in here, we're sat in here, I'm gonna try and see if this thing will actually move the first time I've ever tried to move this. Let's see if the clutch works. Well, we've got a gear. these boxes when they're cold. But that should be reverse. And there we go. We do have a reverse, and I've stalled it. Oh well, it does work. I'm just really struggling at the minute because I'm sat on the floor with no seats. I'm trying to hold my camera at the same time, so I'll take that as a win, guys. That's a hell of a lot better than it was. At least it runs now, it revs. It's not leaked any fuel, any oil, any coolant, so that's a bonus. And we've also had first gear and reverse gear, so we know the clutch works and the gearbox works. So we'll take that as a win. Right guys, so we'll give you a little look under the Ferrari while we're down the pit. For the most part, it doesn't look too bad. Rust wise, it's pretty good. There's no rust on any of the chassis, which is obviously a good thing. There's no cracking on any of these braces or anything that I've seen so far. So again, mechanically and structurally, this car seems pretty good. It's going to be more of a cosmetic rebuild this. We are going to do some bushings and just sort of make sure all the suspension side of things is right, because obviously Ferrari is all about handling, so we want to make sure that is all good. We have noticed a slight little drip just here. Seems to be weeping from the radiator or somewhere up there, so we'll have to look into that at some point, but we'll come back to that. At the moment, we're just looking at starting to strip down some of these suspension components now, just due to the age of this car and the amount of time it's been stood. We're just looking at these sort of bottom shocker bushes, which are quite perished. Again, on the drop link bushes, starting to perish. Looks like it's had new lower wishbones at some point. Hubs don't look too old. Track rod ends look pretty good. They look like they've been changed. So that side of things are alright, but again, just looking at bushes like this. Now Ferrari, in their wisdom, have actually welded in these wishbone bushes. So you've actually got to remove the whole wishbone and then sort of cut back the weld off these, knock these tubes out, and then put your new tubes in, position it on the car to get it into the right position, and then actually tack weld these sleeves back to the wishbone without melting the bushes. So that's a fantastic idea that Ferrari have come up with there. And I believe the reason behind that is that the tolerances on these cars was pretty bad because it was hand built. So like none of them was pretty much exactly the same. So you have to do it like that so you can put the wishbone on the car, knock the sleeves into the right position, and then tack them into place just so you know it's right. Again, it's pretty much the same thing on this side, guys. Bushes are just starting to perish a little bit. Same with these wishbone bushes. Up there, just starting to crack and corrode a little bit, so we're going to be changing those. And again, in the bottom shocker bushes, again, are just starting to corrode there. Discs don't look in a bad condition. They actually look fairly new. They've just been stood for a long time, but they should clean up pretty nicely. Again, on this side, track rod ends look good, and the lower ball joints have been done on this side as well. So just moving a bit further back again, as you can see, sills and everything look pretty damn good on there. Again, no cracking, no rust. I'm assuming there should be another belly pan that goes under there that unfortunately we haven't got for this car, so that might be something we may have to fabricate, because it's highly likely we're going to find one of them, and if we do, it's probably going to cost about £10,000, knowing some of the prices we've come across on the Ferrari stuff. So we'll see what we can do with that, and I'll have to do some research just to see if it actually should have one there, because I'm not entirely sure on that. It's got a bit of a little loose bracket here which wants a bolt putting in it, but again, all the subframe and everything is all good, solid condition. And then pretty much the same on the back. These bushes, again in the lower wishbones, are starting to corrode. It does look like these bushes have been changed, so that's a bonus. They actually look like polyurethane bushes, and that might be an upgrade that we're going to be doing on this car. We may well upgrade all this to polyurethane. Rear anti-roll bar bushes have been done. The exhaust system actually looks pretty new on this, and it is a genuine Ferrari exhaust system as well. You can just see it stamped up there with the Ferrari. And I do believe that there should be like a mesh cover that covers this exhaust box. So again, that's something we're going to be looking into. These lower arms, these lower drop bushes, drop arms even on this rear anti-roll bar look quite new. So that's a bonus. And again, rear discs look new, and the pads look new, and them should all clean up pretty well. So for the most part, I'd say this is a pretty good car. It's also had a new fuel pump and a new fuel filter. Looks like it's had new leads and plugs as well. So let's get cracking on, guys. I'm going to get this front end jacked up. I'm going to whip these front wheels off and start the front end, start stripping down the front arms, get that all stripped, get the shockers off, and then we'll get these prepped and ready for the new bushes going in. So that is the wheels off. Now, to gain access to these bushes, the easiest way I can see first is to remove this caliper using these two caliper hanger bolts, one there and one at the bottom. We can then leave this caliper attached so we don't lose all the fluid. We don't want the fluid dripping everywhere. The brakes will be stripped at a later date, but just for now we're not getting to this bit yet. So remove the calipers, we'll bungee these up out the way, and then what we'll do is we will remove these two bolts from there, which will release the top section of this hub casing, and then we'll then release the lower ball joint down here, and then we should be able to pull this section with the hub and everything completely off, and then we can disconnect the shock absorber and then get into all these lower arms. Now what I'm seeing here, you see the way the bolts have been put in these lower arms, they've actually been put through this way. So now if we undo this nut, the bolt can't actually come past this frame, and we've also got the same issue at the back there as well. So there is actually a couple of bolts where this bracket here bolts on through the back, so we're going to have to go under the car. We're going to have to remove that belly pan, get under the car and actually remove these brackets from the back, and then we can release the lower arm, and then the top arm looks like the bolts will pass through, but I'm just hoping these aren't seized, and that bolt head there is quite thin, so I'm hoping these aren't really tight, because we're going to struggle getting those out if that is the case. So as you can see there, guys, these bushes have really perished, so we don't want to be leaving those in. As I was saying, Ferraris are all about the handling, so bushes like that are just going to cause this car to handle like absolute crap. So they do need doing, there's nothing to it but to do it. the driver's side stripped. That came apart pretty easily, to be fair. Now it's time to do it all over again on the passenger side. Right guys, I'm quite intrigued to see how clean these seats are going to come up. I think these are going to come up an absolute treat. So we've got some cleaning products. We're going to clean one of these seats and we'll compare it with a before and an after. Let's see how clean we can get this up. Let's give them a good scrubbing. So there's a little before and after for you guys, two next to each other to compare the two. Don't think that's come up too bad, to be fair. I will be giving this another scrub and then we can start to do some leather treatment on it. There is just a couple of areas where it's just starting to lose its colour on the corners, probably where it's just been sat in the sun at some times and stuff like that. So we'll be treating this and just trying to rub some colour back into these seats. This is just literally to get the grime off before we can start to treat these with some proper leather treatment, but I think you'll agree, I'm getting a better light, difference between that and that is quite substantial. So yeah, really happy with how that turned out. So that is both sides of the suspension stripped. We've got all the wishbones off, shocker off, hub, disc, all that is off, calipers off, and we've also took the anti-roll bar off so we can get that all shot blasted. So all this lot is going to be shot blasted and then we can get it all painted. I'll just give you a quick look at this side, just for comparison. This is how it was. Now on the other side, I've just started, well, I've cleaned it up and give it a lick of paint just to show you the difference. Hopefully you'll see the difference there with that. I think that looks pretty good, to be fair. Bearing in mind you don't see any of this anyway, guys, but that's come out alright. Obviously this is fiberglass, there's not much we can do with that other than paint it, but this is all lined anyway, and by the time the nose cone's on you won't actually see any of this, but it just tidies it up, makes it look a hell of a lot better. So we're going to give this a few more coats, just keep building that paint up, coat at a time. So I'm going to go to this side now. This side's actually dry. This has been a good few hours now, this is all nice and dry, so I'm going to go onto this side, clean all that side up, and then start to do the same on that side, get it all stone chipped and painted. That is both sides now treated and painted. Again, nothing absolutely spectacular going on here, because again, all this is covered. This just treats it, protects it, and stops it from rusting, hopefully. I have left the majority of the old rust protection on there because it's done a good job up until this point, so it just seems stupid to remove it. The chassis and everything is solid. It's all been tapped with an hammer. There's no filler in it. There's no fiberglass where it shouldn't be. It is a good solid frame on this car. So I've just left basically the majority of the old rust treatment on there just for extra protection. I've gone over the top of that. More the merrier as far as I'm concerned. It does look a hell of a lot better. So coming up next on this project is going to be to start running all these suspension components and hub and shock absorber, spring and all that sort of stuff through the shock blaster. I'm going to be removing this horn. It does work, I've tried it, so I'm just going to be refurbing that, giving it some paint, tidying it up, because I probably won't be able to access that very easily once the nose cone's back on. So I'm going to be checking everything works, getting the headlights and everything working, make sure all the heaters work and all that sort of stuff. We'll probably gas the aircon while it's at this stage as well. We do have an aircon machine on site, so it just makes sense to check all this now before that nose cone goes back on. And then after that, once we've got these suspension components shot blasted and repainted, I have now ordered a full set of OEM bushes to replace all the bushings in these components. So that will be coming up on the next episode as well. So that draws this episode to a close, guys. I hope you've enjoyed watching these videos. I'm certainly enjoying working on this car. This is a first for me, working on a Ferrari, so I am learning as I go along here, picking stuff up. But to be fair, it is quite basic stuff on this car, and everything has come apart really easily so far, so that's a bonus. There is lots and lots to do. There's going to be lots and lots more videos on this car, so don't forget to hit subscribe, guys. Don't forget to hit that bell icon, drop us some comments, let us know what you think, and we'll see you all on the next video.